Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Today we will study the view of Ustaaz Hameed uddin Farahi vis-a-vis the pattern and the wisdom behind the naming of the Quranic Surahs. The reason that he has explained this particular aspect is that the way in which the Arabs used to name their compositions, their poetry, their written documents would be very different from the one that we use today. The method that we use today generally reflects the content of the document or the composition that we write. It could be an article, it could be a poem, it could be a book. But the general taste of the Arabs was that they would actually choose one word within the surah or from the beginning of the surah, and that word would reflect that word would not reflect the content of the surah, but it would be picked up and the surah would be named after it. So this is something which is very different from the method that we are used to. Ustaaz Hameed uddin Farahi has made this point that although there are surahs in the Quran which are named in the way that we name our compositions, reflecting of course the content or the objective or theme of the surah, but they are very far and few between. For example, Surah Yusuf does comprehensively tell us that the whole surah revolves around the Prophet Joseph's story. Similarly, the Mu'awwizatain, which are the last two surahs of the Quran, they are actually called or variously called as Falaq and Nas as well. But one of the names for the two as a group is Mu'awwizatain, which means that the two which seek refuge with God. So seeking refuge with God is something which is reflected in the content of the surahs, and hence we can see that they are named so. But this is an exceptional case in the case of the Quran, that surahs be named according to their content. It is generally the case that the surahs are named from a particular word of the surah. At times this word occurs at the very beginning of the surah. For example, in Surah Rahman, the word occurs at the very beginning of the surah. And then we find Surah Taha, Surah Yasin, Alif Lam Mim. All these surahs begin with these words and are actually named as such. Then at times a name is or a word is picked from within the surah, and an example of this would be Hadid. The Surah Hadid mentions the word Hadid just once. Ash-Shu'ara, Surah Ash-Shu'ara mentions the word Shu'ara only once. And Zukhruf, which means ornaments of gold. Again, this is mentioned just once in the surah. And then at times some word could be taken which may reflect a sub-theme. Like for example, in Surah Nur, we have the verse of Nur, after which the surah is named, but it's just a sub-theme within the surah. Bani Israel, not Bani Israel, but another pertinent example would be Nisa, in which Nisa of course means women, and the theme, there is a sub-theme within Surah Nisa, within this surah, which deals with women. However, the surah does not entirely deal with women. Al Imran is another example. We find Jesus and Mary being discussed, but again, that discussion is just a small part. So you can see that the pattern according to which surahs are named is exactly according to what Arabs used to do, that they would pick up something peculiar, something outstanding, something which catch their attention and name the surah so. And such is this nature of naming things, that even the Almighty actually, when He named surahs through the huruf muqatta'at, the abbreviated letters which are found in 29 surahs of the Quran at the very beginning, like Alif Lam Mim, Noon wal Qalam, Yasin or Taha. So these are basically names of the surah, and it's because of the fact that they are named so that the very pattern which the Almighty adopted is that He picked up one name or a particular word which actually is conspicuous in the surah. So this is a small explanation which I intended to present before you of Ustaaz Hameed uddin Farahi. I would urge my viewers to pick up his Majmu' Tafasir, which is available in English and in Urdu, and he actually has written some forewords to his tafsir in which he has explained a number of aspects. And one of these aspects is that why are the names of the surah the way they are? And it will be very befitting if we get to acquaint ourselves with this, and also when we teach our younger generation, or when we are able to transfer the contents of the Quran to people who might not be knowing more comprehensively about it, that we to explain this to them, that the way the Quranic surahs are named is mostly different from how we name our documents or books or compositions. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات.